Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Well, let's take a look now at some of the stocks on the move today in Europe. I'm Stephen Carroll and I'm joined by Bloomberg's breaking news editor Louise Moon for more. Louise, good morning. Let's start with the news from Burberry, an upgrade to their outlook.
Indeed, yeah, their shares are rising on this news. They're one of the biggest risers on the FTSE 100 this morning. They had their second quarter results. Sales beat estimates and they came in positive for the first time in 2 years. So boosted by strong demand across the board, but particularly from China, although the US did come in slightly weaker. But what this indicates is that their turnaround under the CEO, he came in relatively recently last year, it seems that it's working. So he's bringing Burberry back to its core, its British core of, you know, trench coats, of tartan. You've probably seen they've had a lot of very kind of British stars in their adverts. So this seems as though this is starting to really take effect. Now, analysts are saying that they don't expect changes to their full year outlook, but that's because they expect that these gross margins will likely be reinvested in their turnaround plans. So, you know, things like more investment in marketing and so on. And Burberry itself noted this morning of their restructuring charges that will come in the second half and in the full year. And they are still battling some headwinds like tariffs, but essentially their turnaround is working and sales are stronger.
Okay, and shares reflecting that this morning. Another company's shares seeing significant gains this morning, Wizz Air, 14% higher. What's driving that? Indeed, yeah. And they hit a record low last week. So this is a real turnaround in share price for Wizz Air this morning. They also had earnings second quarter. They came in ahead of expectations, but it has to be noted that expectations essentially were very low. So ahead of expectations and just better than anyone had expected. This is after they've been struggling. So the main issue they've been really struggling with is grounded jets, and this is for a long time, and that's due to engine maintenance issues. That's driven up costs. It's meant that Wizz Air has had to slow some aircraft deliveries. They've had to rein in some expansion plans in some regions. And they did this morning cut their full year capacity outlook. So they're expecting 10% growth rather than 20% that they had predicted in June. And they, as part of that, you know, plans to slow their growth trajectory to stabilise operations. So negative there, but it seems as though that stabilisation ahead that's expected is being welcomed, and those earnings that came in ahead of expectations after low expectations, that's what's really driving that share price this morning. Okay, so from aeroplanes to supermarkets and Carrefour in France, we've got shares up 1.9% at the moment.
Yeah, ticking slightly higher. That's after a change in one of their shareholders. So the Saadé family, the French billionaire family, they became new big shareholders in Carrefour. So they now own about 4%. That's the second largest shareholder, and they're also going to join the board. So this follows the exit of Peninsula, which is a Brazilian investment vehicle. They've been involved in Carrefour for decades. They've had a long involvement in Carrefour, and this family is gonna take that position, that second largest shareholder position. It comes as the grocer is struggling. They've recently had weak third quarter sales. There's high competition in France. There's been price cuts in France. So shares have fallen about 10% in the last year, but ticking higher this morning, potentially on some hope of a bit of change there.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.